Hey everyone, this is Larry Cornett with the Exit Blueprint. I was going to do a little bit of a walk and talk in Juneau, Alaska with you guys. We've been here for about a week so far, and this is, believe it or not, August weather. When we first arrived, we got lucky. I think we had about 4 days of pure sunshine. You're gonna be surprised how hot it was in Juneau, Alaska. It was hot. I mean, it was hot enough for like t-shirt and shorts. We got sunburn on hikes, and now the weather's turned more into what you would usually expect for Juneau this time of year. So foggy, cloudy, a little chilly, a little drizzly, pretty normal. So when you have sunny, warm days, everybody closes up shop and takes off to go fishing, go down to the beach, and you can see some of the crazy steep streets here. Yeah, maybe I'll go up and kind of do a walk up here. We did this in the winter, a couple of winters ago, and this was all icy and snowy. It's kind of crazy, dangerous. And they closed this street. It's kind of hard to see how steep it is, but it's a little too steep to drive on when it's covered with snow and ice. But yeah, I posted about that a few days ago, I think. I shared a sign that was in a shop window here where they had said, yeah, we're closed due to sunshine. And they close up their little shop and go out, enjoy. They go hiking and fishing. A whole lot of people were biking, jogging, paddleboarding, canoeing out in the ocean. I don't know if you can see, you can barely see it here, but you can see a cruise ship docked over there. So yeah, it's right on the ocean. And it's definitely clear that they have constructed their business to be a lifestyle business. So they can enjoy life and not be a servant of their business, such that they're just tied to it and they can't take advantage of those rare sunny days. I think similar thing happens in the winter when they get a good powdery snow, which is a little rare because it's often pretty wet. Yeah, that's gonna be too loud. I'm gonna turn around. It's often too wet for good skiing. And so if they have a good powdery snow, people take the day off for a snow day to go skiing. My daughter and son live here. And so, yeah, my daughter was telling us, like, yeah, they said, take the day off, go snowboarding, go skiing. Don't worry about coming to work. How refreshing is that, right? I certainly did not have that experience in Silicon Valley when I worked in tech, for over 20 years. We didn't get to do that. Not at all. And so one of the things that I encourage you to think about when you're designing and building your business, your entrepreneurial venture, whether it's solo as a solopreneur or as a entrepreneur hiring people, is to think really hard about the way you want to live your life at that time when you're running that business. Because as an employee, you don't get that choice, right? You don't get to decide how to spend your days and when to work, when not to work, where to work, all that stuff. So the last thing I think you want to do when you design your own business is trap yourself in a model that doesn't serve you well, in a model that replicates what you went through as an employee. Why would you do that? It requires a big shift, a big mental shift to think that you are in complete control of your future, of your destiny, and you can decide how things are going to go. And now's the time to do it. And so the whole who, what, when, where, why is in your hands. It's not in an employer's hands who's going to decide what you do, what you don't do. And so thinking a little bit about that, I always tell people, start with your life first. And when I say design your life and think about your ideal lifestyle, I'm not talking about, oh, okay, I want a private island and I want a yacht and I want a private jet. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. That's just not realistic at all, for one. But that's not really what it's about. It's not about your material possessions. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about how you live day in and day out, like how you spend your time, who you spend your time with. That's what I'm talking about. And I have my clients go through an exercise where they map out their daily and weekly calendar, because I talk a lot about time blocking and day theming and figuring out when do you want to wake up, when do you want to start work, how much do you work, when do you take breaks, where do you work, who are the people you're going to spend the most time with. You get to choose. You get to decide all of that. And every decision can take you down a path that gets you closer to the lifestyle you desire, the way you spend your days and time, and who surrounds you, or take you farther away. And that's a risk. I think it's one people don't fully consider when they're doing it. I'm going to move away from this construction. I'm sure it's a little loud. It's kind of pretty up there, but they're doing a lot of work on that building, so it's a little loud. Aren't the houses cute here? I love some of these houses. Juneau's an old town. It's kind of a small town, and it's very isolated, but it has a really good culture. I really enjoy it, and that's why we spend so much time here. That and our kids live here. 2 of our kids do. So we like to come for extended stays and see more and more of what it has to offer. Like, we're going to be here the rest of August. So it's a very long vacation, only because I've designed the business this way to allow it. And that's the key thing I want you to think about as you are designing your business. And I see a lot of people make mistakes with this. And it can be pretty subtle, and it can be unintentional. A lot of it, you get backed into a corner by deciding what you're going to sell and who you're going to sell it to, and how that has to happen. So I think, a big part of it, start with thinking how you want to spend your days, when you want to get up, where you want to work, what you enjoy, what you can tolerate, because, hey, life's not perfect. So if it was perfect, we all would have no need for money or unlimited wealth, and we could just essentially treat life like a giant vacation for the rest of our lives. But that's not realistic. That's not what we're talking about, right? So yeah, let me get across this street so I actually end up getting hit by a car. That'd be kind of important, huh? So yeah, it can start with designing how you want to spend your time, and kind of ideally, you may not be perfect, it may not be exactly what you want, but try to get as close as you can. And I often do this with career clients too, where they're looking for an ideal job with an ideal employer. It's not that different. Thinking about what ideal looks like for you. And if you had your way with designing how this business is going to be run, how do you want that to go? So design that first. Think about where you want to live. That's important. Think about how you want to spend each day. When do you want to get up? How do you want to spend that day? When do you want to go to bed? All the stuff that you're going to be doing with people throughout the day and the kind of people you want to spend time with. So think about all that first and go through that exercise. And then start breaking down what that actually means for a business. So what is it that you're going to be selling? What is your offer? And businesses can be goods or services or a mix of goods and services, right? So it can be a physical product that you sell or a digital product that you sell. It can be a service, like coaching is a service, which is what I do. Accounting is a service. Lawyers is a service. You know, or you could be selling something that's tangible, physical or digital. So you have to decide what is it you want to do. Some of that's based on your expertise and your experience. Like, what do you already have in your toolkit that you're working with? What have you done during your life as an employer or as an employee, or maybe you already had a business earlier or something that you already do on the side. And the other part of it can be, what do you want to do? So you aren't necessarily completely tied to your expertise and experience, but it does make it a lot easier. Otherwise, you're going to have to acquire all the skills and knowledge and experience and build your reputation and credibility to be able to do something completely new you've never done before. Not impossible, but it is a little bit harder. So deciding what you're going to sell makes a big difference. So if it's virtual, then that can be done from anywhere, right? As long as you have an internet connection, some sort of device, phone, laptop, you'd be able to create that thing or that digital good or your service and offer that to customers and clients anywhere in the world. The other part to think when you're considering that is it going to be synchronous or asynchronous? And so can what you're selling be purchased and offered, completely free of your direct time and involvement? And some stuff can, some stuff can't. There are aspects of my business, for example, that can be asynchronous, and I've done that intentionally. So that's chatting with clients to give them advice, mostly through Discord now, sometimes through, can be text, email, stuff like that. So that's asynchronous. We can be in completely different time zones and communicate and work together, collaborating through shared documents, things like that. And then there's stuff that's synchronous, which is the live coaching session. So that's a live call using Zoom so that we can talk and chat in real time, which is super useful, obviously. And the same goes for goods that you sell. Is it going to be a good that you can sell anytime, anywhere, at scale? So digital goods are like that, where it's kind of unlimited. You can determine if there's any scarcity and stuff like that. Or is it going to be a physical good where it's really limited by how much you can produce or outsource? Or in some cases, what you're going to be providing has to be done in person. So if you want to run a bakery, well, you can't have a digital bakery. I suppose you could have goods that you ship, but a lot of people have a bakery where they sell the baked goods in person, and freshness matters and all that stuff, right? So you are kind of constrained. So that's why the what makes a huge difference. Is it going to be physical? Is it digital? Is it a good? Is it a service? Is it synchronous or asynchronous? Does it scale? Does it scale at all? Does it scale infinitely? Think about all those things, because it opens up different opportunities and flexibility. So, being digital, being asynchronous is the most flexible. Absolutely. I know people who supposedly make their living doing nothing but selling digital goods online, and it scales infinitely. They've created it once, they sell it many times, maybe they tweak it and update it once in a while, but they don't really have to be present. There's no limit on what they can sell, and it can be sold to anyone, anytime, anywhere. And so that's the ultimate flexibility. My business is not quite that flexible, but it's pretty flexible. Yeah, here I am right now. Let's see if I can get a good view of the harbor for you guys. But yeah, it's pretty flexible. I've been here and had client calls. You know, I do like a 1-hour client call. You know, I was staying at my son's place, so I do a 1-hour Zoom call and then go out for the rest of the day and go hiking and enjoy it and go camping and do all the stuff that I do with my kids and have that flexibility. So it does make a huge difference. I can go anywhere in the world, and I have. I've done work from Mexico, Alaska, Europe, you name it. And I have clients all over the world too. And so that's kind of the what piece. And then thinking about the thing that's tied to that is where. Like, where are you going to work? Are you going to work from a home office? Do you require a physical location somewhere? Let's say you're an accountant who needs to meet with people. Or again, you have some kind of a local service or a local good, like a bakery or a bar or a restaurant, whatever it might be, or you're an accountant and want to have people meet in the office. Now you need some space. You need a brick and mortar location. That gets a little trickier, and that ties you down a bit more, and maybe you're okay with that. Again, I'm just going to come back to, what do you want for your life? Now, while I love to travel, and I have kids located all over the place that I want to visit and see, and family in different places around the world that I want to see. You know, we went to Germany and I did some work there, so we have family there. Not everybody wants that. Some people just want to stay at home. They like it. They don't want to travel. And that's okay. That's it. That's why I say think about what you want. But the thing you don't want to do is design a business that requires one kind of lifestyle, but you prefer a different kind of lifestyle. And I knew that about myself. I knew I wanted to travel. I knew I wanted the flexibility. So the last thing I wanted to do was create a business that required a presence in the physical world where I couldn't leave town. And I had to pay rent on an office, and I would feel bad if I wasn't using the office, you know, all that stuff. So important, very important. That's the what piece. The where, you know, where do you have to live and where do you have to work? So document that, because that can change where you get to spend your days. You know, when I was in tech in Silicon Valley, that was the place to be. It was the heart. And if you really wanted to have a big career in tech, you had to live in Silicon Valley. I worked at Apple and IBM, places like that. So I couldn't live someplace like Switzerland and work for Apple at the time. It really wouldn't have worked for me. So it dictated where I live. So think about that. Where you want to live may be influenced heavily by the kind of business you design and what you decide to sell. Super important. The who is important too. So who are your clients? That makes a big difference. If some of your clients are not comfortable with online and digital, let's say that you are a yoga instructor or a fitness instructor, yeah, you can do online stuff, but it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to work with clients in person when you're doing that kind of work and service, right? Small things like time zones. Somebody asked me recently, you know, you live in California, do you work with clients in Europe? Because it's a different time zone. Either you have to get up really early or stay up late, and I've done that. I've had clients in Europe in different locations, so we'd have calls pretty early in the morning, which is okay. I'm a morning person. Working with people in India, you stay up kind of late. I remember having calls 10, 11 o'clock at night. So it's something you may not consider, but it has an impact. And if I'm a little out of breath, it's because this hill is really steep. Juneau has a lot of steep streets because it sits at the base of a mountain and goes from sea level to 4,300 feet pretty quickly. I found out when we hiked the Juneau Ridge Trail. So we did that the other day. That was 15 miles, 12 hours, going from 0 to 4,300, and then down and up and down and up. Little bits of the mountain, obviously, along the ridge. Look at the colors of these houses, so pretty. I love all the flowers. It's a very pretty little city. I like it a lot. But yeah, that does affect how you're going to operate your business. So are you selling something where somebody in Europe's like, hey, I want to be able to have this service with you? Are you available? Are you okay with getting up early to work with me? Or if you have goods, are you okay with paying for international shipping? I've had people ask that with some stuff that I had, and they're like, will you cover international shipping? It's more expensive. And it can take a long time, you know, various things like that. So think about who you want to work with. And that includes all the information about those people, which I think people don't think about. If you've worked in the tech industry at a big place like Google or Amazon, Apple, even Yahoo, eBay, where I worked, who are our clients, who are our customers? Everybody. Every single person with a wallet is a client of ours, right? So we don't care. In some cases, it was even children, right? So it could be young, it could be old, men, women, all kinds of folks. So this is your chance to determine that. Who do you want to help most? I talk about that. That's a big choice you have to make when you're designing your business and designing what you're going to sell. It's like, who are the people I care about helping? And maybe it's not driven so much by that demographic decision. Maybe it is. Maybe you really want to help women start a new business. I have a client who's doing that. She wants to empower women who are starting their first business and really feels passionately about that. So she doesn't want to coach men. She doesn't want to coach, I don't know if it's, experienced people, I should say, that have been running businesses and they're like, hey, I'm trying to scale my business from 2 million to 50 million. Well, that's not what she's about. She's about helping a first-time female business owner make that transition, be successful, and enjoy the freedom that comes with that. Have more time with friends and family, you name it, that kind of thing. So that's what she's all about, right? And I have other people who are working on educational products that really want to help children, and specifically children with learning disabilities, because they suffered with it. They were frustrated, made their life pretty miserable as a young child. They said no one should go through that. I want to help these young children with learning disabilities succeed in school and life. Super important to them. You don't realize how noisy a little city is until you try to walk around and record in it. Sorry if there's a lot of street noise. Wow, another very steep street. If you look all the way down, you can see the cruise ship in the distance. All the way down at the docks, and this is a very steep street. I've actually seen people skateboarding this. I am not that brave. And snowboarding, I saw somebody do that in the winter. Again, I'm not that brave. But yeah, super important to think about who you want to help. And you can choose. This is your business. So I know things are different when you work for an employer who makes that call. And they have all kinds of rules and laws and stuff they have to think about. But you can decide, yeah, I don't want to work with men. Or I don't want to work with children. I just want to work with people over the age of 18. That's totally your choice. You get to decide that. So that's the what, that's the where, the who, And then the how is somewhat tied into the what, right? How you're going to offer what you sell depends a lot on what you're selling. So yeah, if you want to provide fresh cupcakes and that's your thing, it's going to be hard if you live in California to provide very fresh cupcakes to somebody in Romania. You know, it's like, that's going to be an interesting challenge. A lot of people don't want to deal with that. And how fresh are they? I suppose you deliver them on dry ice and ship them quickly. I don't know. I'm not into cupcakes. But how you do what you do, how you work, how you provide that service, again, that's your control, which is nice. What an amazing thing. Because as an employee, you don't get that choice. You are going to use their tools, their software, their processes, and you don't get to use your favorite tools. You know, if you have to use Microsoft Teams, tough. Don't care if you like Zoom. You don't get to do it. And if they want to use Slack, tough. You don't get to use Discord. Or if you're like, I don't ever want to do a phone call again. Everything I do is going to be provided through chat and asynchronous collaborative documents. Well, you work for an employer, they're like, no, you take calls with customers. You don't get a choice. So it's kind of nice. This is finally your decision to decide how you're going to work, how you're going to provide all that stuff, the way you're going to make it all go down, the pricing. I mean, you get to choose, right? That's the thing that's really nice about it being a business owner, is that as an employee, it's hard to beg for a raise, beg for a promotion. You know, there's only so much they can do with the policies that HR puts in place. And like, I can't promote you every 6 months. I can't give you a raise every 6 months. You run your own business and things are going well and you're in high demand, you could say, yeah, my prices are going up. I have too much work. I mean, that happened to me during the dot-com boom. I was a little design agency and I had way too much work, too many clients, and I was getting too much inbound interest, and so I just kept raising my prices until that slowed down. That's a good problem to have, and I had the luxury of doing that, so I could charge as much as I wanted within reason, not a crazy psychotic amount, but yeah, try doing that as an employee. Come into work and tell your boss, yeah, I gave myself a raise, you're going to pay me more now. I want 50% more per hour. Yeah, you don't get to do that. So yeah, your pricing is obviously a big part of how you're going to offer your service. So you could do things like hourly, you can do packages, you can do retainers, which I love. I think that's a great model. You could break things into payments, you can do all kinds of stuff. A subscription service, you decide. So really that's important. And some of that will probably affect the design of your business too. Like where you're going to accept payments from, the kind of services that you will use to accept payments, that can affect where you do business. Like if you only accept Stripe, and I've run into this, there are countries outside the US that are like, yeah, I can't use Stripe. That's not possible for me. Can we do Cash App? Can you do Venmo? Can you do PayPal? Can you accept a check? You know, all kinds of stuff like that. So that's going to really make a huge difference on where you do business. You have to think about that whole thing. And I've talked about that a lot. The systems that you need to set up to design your business. Very important piece. You know, and the other thing I talk about is the why. And I know this feels touchy-feely, but yeah, I'm kind of looking at the why right now. Why I designed my business the way I did. Why I thought it was so important to do it in a way that let me work from anywhere and anytime, be able to travel. And so yeah, here I am in Juneau for the whole month, almost the whole month of August. And that's only possible because of the way I structured things. And that my why, it's really, you know, a few things. One is my children. I absolutely love spending time with my children. And it means a lot to me to be able to travel to see them because they're young adults now. They don't just drop everything and come home. They have jobs, they have lives, they have significant others. And so if I want to see them and do things with them, I go to them now. How can I do that if I'm tied to a physical location selling a physical product? Like, I can't leave the bakery, I can't leave the bar. Sorry guys, I'll see you in a year. I didn't want that. And my why is my children. Another big why I talk about all the time is freedom. I don't like being constrained. I cannot stand being constrained. That was the hardest part for me being an employee for so many years, is feeling completely controlled by an employer and a job and the way they wanted me to work and where to work and how I did my work. I can't stand that. I put up with it for over 20 years, right? Not anymore. I can't do that anymore. That's why I left in 2010 and never went back. I'm kind of done with it. So freedom's a big thing to me. And the other big thing is being in nature. So we're going to go backpacking tomorrow. We're going to go load up, go up to a cabin and spend a couple of days. And it's very remote. And we have to hike in, carrying backpacks. I love being in nature. I love being in the forest. We hiked the mountain. Like I said, there was 15-mile ridge trail, 12-hour hike through wilderness. So nature's important to me. And to be able to enjoy that, my health and wellness is super important to me. I talked about that too. I've talked about that many times. That my corporate career was not good for my health at all. I was overweight, out of shape, probably on the fast track to an early death. And I had to do something about it. And so I did. I started in 2009 and started working out, lifting weights, running, lots of hiking, lost 40 pounds. And now, because I'm in that kind of shape, I'm 60 now. Ugh, I can't believe I'm 60, but yeah, recently turned 60. But I can keep up with my kids who are in their 20s. And we can hike up the mountain and go backpacking. I carry all my own stuff, and I wasn't going to be able to do that if I stayed on that path. So that's important to me too. So that's the why. That's my why. So the question for you is, what is your why? Why do you want to do this? What's important to you? How can you design this business in a way that lets you live your why, whatever that might be? Really live it. Maybe for the first time in your life. It was for me. First time in my life. Sometimes I can't believe it. Sometimes I have to remind myself that I structured my life this way on purpose, and I get to do it. I think I've mentioned this before. For a few years, I used to sit in my home office and work, and I was like, what am I doing? I don't need to sit here and stare at a wall all day and a computer screen. Well, that's what I used to do. I don't know why I adopted that. So even though I was working on my own in my own office and my own time, I was still sitting in an office, a home office, staring at a screen. I was like, what have I done? I've kind of replicated some of the stuff I really hated about having a job. Like, why am I doing that? And so I had to remind myself to make a change and to get out more often and work wherever I wanted to. And yeah, a big part of that was, getting a decent laptop and a phone and heading out, working at a coffee shop, working, at a brew pub outside, working at a park, working at a ski resort, working here. So now, yeah, here I am working from Alaska. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today, is to think about how you want to design your life, what you want it to be like day in and day out, and to very carefully and intentionally design your business to support that, and make sure you're not designing parts of your business that are constrain you and won't let you do what you enjoy and live the way you want to live. And that's important. So map it all out, create a business plan. That's the whole idea behind my exit blueprint. This is why I tell people, build your exit blueprint to design your business before you quit your job. So you're not panicking, worrying about money and going, oh no, I got to make money in 30 days or we're going to not be able to pay our mortgage or pay our rent and pay our insurance. It's like, no, do this while you're employed and have a paycheck so you're not feeling stressed and rushed. Be very intentional, be very careful about how you're designing it. And I have an entire really detailed living workbook document that becomes essentially your business manual. that starts from the very beginning of everything I'm talking about all the way through to your systems and getting things up and running with the transactional stuff, testing it, making sure it's validated and is working, and making some money for you before you scale it and say, okay, now I'm comfortable, now I can quit my job. That's the exit blueprint. That's the whole idea behind it. So reach out to me. You can go to newsletter.invinciblesolopreneurs.com and easily find ways to get in touch with me. Set up a free call. I always have a 30-minute free call for people, and we can talk about what that looks like for you to design your exit blueprint so that you can do things like perhaps go to Alaska if that's what you want. Not for everybody, but it sure is for me. I'm going to try to turn it around and see if I can see you guys before I say goodbye. All right. I don't know if you can see me, but hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed a little walking tour of Juneau. Take care.